of any particular traffic which is coming in. So it is keeping a track of previous packets which has gone in and the new packet which is coming in. Hello friends, welcome to ITkFunde, your own channel where we make IT interesting for everyone. And in this video, we'll understand about firewall. There's a famous saying, where there is a will, there is a way. But if you ask me, I often say that where there is a will, there is a wall, and you need to break that wall to find your way. And that wall in networking is none other than a firewall. So if someone wants to get into your network, he or she needs to break this firewall at first place. So in this video, we'll understand what is a firewall with a basic real life example. We'll understand the basic architecture of how firewall works. And at the end, we'll also understand about some basic types of firewall which we use. So without further ado, let's get started. Thank you friends. If you're new to ITkFunde channel, we make IT interesting for everyone, be it IT or non-IT. We discuss all the latest tools and technologies, products, productivity hacks and career tips on this channel. So if you're new and if you like the content, do consider subscribing. Thank you. So friends, if we take a real life example, you can take an example of a housing society where we have 3 different buildings and people staying in their own apartments within this society. And then there is this security entrance where the security guard is making sure that only the legitimate and the valid users or guests are only entering the society. How he decides it? He decides it on the set of security guidelines which the society has given it to him. This red guy protecting the gate is our firewall. The security guard ensures that only the legitimate and the valid users or guests or visitors enters the society. So firewall is nothing but a security guard. Firewall is a security conscious router as well, you can say, which enables that only the legitimate network traffic gets into the network. So friends, let's quickly discuss about the 2 main categories under which a firewall can be divided. So those 2 categories are software firewall and hardware firewall. So hardware firewalls are actually the hardware appliances which you put in the perimeter in your network boundaries so that no intrusion can happen. And that particular hardware firewall can be equated with the security gate and the security personnel who's securing your whole society. But a software firewall is also an operating system level firewall which is installed on your specific systems. Like you see, Windows firewall is a very good example. Now the question arises whether we need a hardware firewall or a software firewall. So answer is you should ideally be using both. Why? It's very natural, because suppose this security guard is a very good guard and the gate is very strong gate. Still, if you are staying somewhere here, you still would put a lock in your house to give that additional level of security to your house, because the intrusion might not be external, it could also be internal, and your firewall guy is sitting only securing the outside traffic coming into your network. But what about if some intrusion happens from here to here? Then what would happen if something happens within the society? So your software firewall acts as a second layer of protection. So always understand this difference between the two. Also, your hardware firewall can be a standalone appliance which can be deployed only looking and making sure that it is acting as a dedicated firewall, or else most of the routers are also now coming up with the firewall functionality. So you can have both a router and a firewall. So a router's responsibility is to route the traffic to the correct direction, wherein the firewall would ensure that only the legitimate traffic is passing through that router. So a small grade company or a small usage scenario might take both into one device, a router plus firewall, but maybe at an enterprise level you might have a dedicated firewall device and a dedicated router. So it depends. So yes, so this is the basic understanding of firewall and the 2 broader categories. Now we'll dig deep into the basic architecture of how firewall is designed. So friends, this is a high level architecture of a firewall design. So as you can see from on the left, the traffic is coming from your internet service provider. This is your extranet, your external network, and then these are the 2 firewalls which we have placed. This is the external firewall and this is the internal firewall. you can design your architecture with a single firewall also, but this is to just give you that additional layer of security. And also the benefit of this is that if you have an external firewall and an internal firewall, in between you could have your perimeter network in which you can host your DMZ, which is demilitarized zone. Now, what is a demilitarized zone? This is an area which is lesser restricted than your actual local area network. In this area, you can host the servers or the applications which needs lesser restrictions, like your mail server. Anyone on the internet might want to connect to your mail server. Anyone in the internet might want to connect to your web server with lesser restrictions. So instead of placing it within your local area network, you place it into DMZ. So DMZ is also a functionality which is designed using a firewall perimeter network. So this is your external firewall, this is your internal firewall. Any request which comes goes through the rules which have been set up, and based on that the decision is made whether this should go ahead or this should go into trash. And then you have specific software firewalls which are deployed in every machine at an operating system level. So yeah, this is an overall architecture of a firewall. And then always understand that there is a priority in which the rules are set. So anything which is going from left to right in this diagram, so what is in your left is external, and right is internal. Okay, so from left to right you have lower priority. What does that mean? That these would be more restricted. Anything coming from outside to inside your network would be more regressively tested. Okay, wherein anything coming from this right side of your local area network towards outer network would be lesser restricted, because this has a higher priority. So take for example, if we take our society, a visitor entering into the society would be grilled more by the security guard, whereas an owner, if he is walking past the security entrance gate for a morning walk, maybe outside the society premises, then the security guard won't ask that many questions, or maybe no questions would be asked from that particular owner, right? Because he has the higher authority. So in a similar way, when you design your firewall rules, these are designed in this manner. Now what we'll understand some basic broader categories and types of firewalls which we have. The category, these are ever expanding and we have new technologies coming up, but these are some basic types of firewalls which you should be aware of. So friends, now let's understand the 5 basic types of firewalls which we use in networking. So the most basic type of firewall is packet filtering firewall. It is the most basic but one of the most widely used and efficient firewall type. It inspects any particular network traffic at a very specific packet level. So it would check the source and the destination IP addresses and the port information, and based on that it would decide, and based on the rules which are given to that particular firewall, it will decide whether this packet is a legitimate packet or not. So what are the good things about packet filtering? The packet filtering firewall is very inexpensive, it's very cheap. Secondly, it is very efficient because it is only inspecting at a packet level. But the downside is that it is not that secure. You can have some attacks like IP spoofing. Now, what is IP spoofing? IP spoofing is if someone injects a wrong IP within that particular packet or forge the IP address, and it can trick this particular firewall using IP spoofing kind of methods. That's why packet filtering is not considered as the most secure, but still it is very widely used because it's very effective. Packet filtering, if we correlate it with our society example, it's as if any visitor is coming to the gate and only telling that he wants to visit a particular house. This is the flat number, this is the owner name, and he wants to meet, and the security guard only checks that okay, yes, this is the flat number and here this particular owner stays, and he just lets this particular visitor go in. But what if this particular visitor is forging this identity of his, and there is no inspection happening overall. So this particular visitor could go and do some malicious activity as well, because there is no further validation or the contextual validation happening at this kind of packet filtering firewall. So coming to the second type is the stateful inspection. Now stateful inspection is an intelligent version of packet filtering where the firewall is also understanding the overall context of any particular traffic which is coming in. So it is keeping a track of previous packets which has gone in and the new packet which is coming in. So it would give the additional layer of security, because it's not just blindly taking one packet at one time and allowing it. So take for example, if any visitor is coming into the society, the guard is not just randomly letting this particular visitor go in. It is validating, maybe calling the owner, checking whether this particular visitor was called for. You might understand what is your objective of coming in, take more details, something like that. So adding more context would give more security. Adding more context to it gives you a stateful inspection. So this packet filtering is stateless. You're not worried about the state. You're taking one packet at a time and you're taking a call. Herein, whereas in stateful, you're understanding the context. So it is a slightly higher, secured version, but obviously it comes with a cost. It would be slightly expensive. It would be slightly slower. But yeah, it all boils down to your requirements. The third one is circuit level gateway. Now in circuit level gateway, the firewall establishes a circuit, a tunnel of sorts between source and the destination. It connects both the network at once and then it just goes out. The firewall says, I have now connected you, I have validated, I have connected you through this particular port. Now do whatever communication you want to do. The firewall won't interfere in that. So VPN is kind of, you can understand a similar concept where you create a VPN tunnel and then you continue to interact. So suppose if you are doing a telnet from your client machine to a server, and if there is a circuit level gateway in there, so the moment you connect to your telnet port, that particular telnet channel would be created and then the firewall would just won't interfere in the further communication. Now again it has some goods and the bad. So good is, once it is there, the channel is created, it's very seamless. But again, what happens if something goes wrong, because now the firewall is not at all taking care of this circuit. It might happen that some kind of interference might happen in this. So again, this has some drawbacks. Now application proxy gateway. This is by far the most superior version. It combines all the goods of the top three and then offers something more. So now application proxy gateway works at a higher level of OSI model. So it works at an application layer, and what it does is it takes the application context into picture and then deploys the firewall rule. So the firewall is way far intelligent compared to this, because these are basically working at a network layer or a transport layer. This particular proxy gateway is dedicatedly working at an application layer, so it knows what this particular application is expecting. So suppose there is a web application which is expecting some sort of an HTTP traffic to come in. Now this particular firewall could be deployed with an intelligence to assess the packets which are coming are actually in the desired format or not, and it might see that okay, this particular HTTP format which is coming is not correct. It might redesign it in a manner in which the application is requesting. Also, suppose there is certain pages of this web application which are static, so those can be cached at this particular gateway level. So the request might not again go back and come for these kind of static pages. This particular firewall gateway could manage this on its own. So this is by far the most intelligent version of all the four which we have talked about, but very expensive and takes a lot of maintenance, and designing these kind of firewalls are way more complex technically. And last but definitely not the least is firewall as a service. Now what is firewall as a service? You might know that now more and more applications are going on to the cloud, and you have these big cloud providers who are offering you firewall as a service. So you take, for example, if we talk about Google Cloud Platform. So in Google Cloud Platform, you can design your whole firewall just from the web portal or the GUI of cloud vendors, and you don't have to worry about the internal functioning of it. You just need to decide, okay, what kind of rules you want. You just go there and you just select whatever rules, inbound rules or outbound rules you want, and rest all will be taken care under the hood by the cloud provider. So this is now very much emerging, which is called as firewall as a service. So friends, this brings us to the end of this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you exactly know when I upload my next video. I always try to learn new things and share it in the simplest manner possible for everyone to understand. So if you liked, please hit the like button so YouTube knows that there is something useful going on this channel, and it spreads it to the wider audience. So until next time, please keep learning guys, keep sharing all your knowledge, and yes, keep hustling. Bye for now.